He looks like Uncle Fester with a goatee beard, and his name's not Raymond Long.
The Black Speech and Orkish. I've sometimes heard people who think they know Tolkien's work claim that the Black Speech is the same thing as the Orcish language. This episode sets out to dispel that misconception. Basic timeline. The Silmarillion is a collection of texts by Tolkien, written as the legendary history of the universe of which Middle-earth is a part. It recounts how the one god Ilúvatar created the Ainur, which are something like Christian angels. The most powerful of the Ainur was Melkor, later called Morgoth. He rebelled against Ilúvatar and won many Ainur to his cause. One of his mightiest followers was Sauron. Melkor ruled in northern Middle-earth from fortresses named Utumno and Angband. In the War of Wrath, the Ainur loyal to Ilúvatar overthrew Melkor and expelled him from the earthly realm. Sauron then fled to Middle-earth, where he was the dominant power for centuries. In the Third Age, when the Lord of the Rings is set, this time of Sauron's domination was called the Dark Years. The creation of orcs. The following passage is from Of the Coming of the Elves and the Captivity of Melkor, part of the Silmarillion. The word Quendi means elves in High Elven.
All those of the Quendi who came into the hands of Melkor ere Utumno was broken, were put there in prison, and by slow arts of cruelty were corrupted and enslaved. And thus did Melkor breed the hideous race of orcs in envy and mockery of the elves.
Timeline note. Melkor Morgoth, not Sauron, created orcs before the War of Wrath. Orkish. The following is from The Lord of the Rings, Appendix F, Part 1, The Languages and Peoples of the Third Age, Section of Other Races, Subsection Orcs and the Black Speech. Tolkien writes of orcs,
It is said that they had no language of their own, but took what they could of other tongues and perverted it to their own liking. Yet they made only brutal jargons, scarcely sufficient even for their own needs, unless it were for curses and abuse. And these creatures quickly developed as many barbarous dialects as there were groups or settlements of their race, so that their Orcish speech was of little use to them in intercourse between different tribes. As an aside, Tolkien spells the word orc with a letter C, but Orkish with a K. Westron. Westron is another name for the common speech of the West. The previously quoted subsection continues, So it was that in the Third Age orcs used for communication between breed and breed the Westron tongue. And many indeed of the elder tribes, such as those that still lingered in the north and in the misty mountains, had long used the Westron as their native language, though in such a fashion as to make it hardly less unlovely than Orcish. Black Speech. Continuing the same subsection again, It is said that the Black Speech was devised by Sauron in the Dark Years, and that he had desired to make it the language of all those that served him, but he failed in that purpose. After the first overthrow of Sauron, this language in its ancient form was forgotten by all but the Nazgûl. When Sauron rose again, it became once more the language of Barad-dûr and of the captains of Mordor. The inscription on the ring was in the ancient Black Speech, while the curse of the Mordor orc was in the more debased form used by the soldiers of the Dark Tower. Timeline note. Sauron devised the Black Speech during the Dark Years, after the War of Wrath. Summary. In the First Age, before the War of Wrath, orcs borrowed words from other races to concoct barely functional languages. Tolkien uses the word Orkish for the descendants of these languages in the Third Age. In the Second Age, after the War of Wrath, Sauron devised an artificial language to teach to his subjects. This, the language of the ring inscription, Tolkien calls Ancient Black Speech. In the Third Age, when the Lord of the Rings is set,
The native languages of various Orc groups fall into three categories. 1. Orkish, a group of mutually incomprehensible dialects derived ultimately from languages which early Orcs encountered. 2. Orcicized versions of the common speech of the West. 3. A modern descendant of ancient Black speech. Tolkien consistently uses the terms Orcish and Black speech for entirely different things.